This is the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 10, and it reads, For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. Giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rahakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well in teaching me this 100% truth. Salutations to them and my fellow Akims who labor in this truth week in and week out on the highways and byways. Also, salutations to the hopeful elect of the scattered 12 tribes of Israel, scattered to the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, also known as your Israelite foreigners, and your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. To you, I say Shalom. This is your brother Ayashar Barazal from the Indianapolis branch of the Great Millstone, coming back at you with another lesson that is edifying to the elect body of the nation of Israel. All right, before I get into it, I'm not going to use a video with this clip. Uh, just want to inform the listeners, the sincere listeners, that Esau is on his BS. Last week I had a video taken down for a video that is posted on YouTube, and used it as part of my video under the Copyright Act of 1976 as stipulated under Section 107. They removed the video. The week before that, they did a copyright on another one when it was declared, both in the actual video and audibly as well. So we see now that Esau is getting upset because these things in history that they have done to us perpetually. We're starting to line them up with the scriptures to show you who this devil truly is in this world, and it's starting to bother them. So starting to mess around with the videos and stuff. But nevertheless, I won't be doing that for this video. It'll just be a straight story, and I'll put a link to that story in the description box. All right. So with that said, this scripture, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. All right. This is yet another installment of our camp series called For Thy Violence Against Thy Brother Jacob, which, is just going through the history of this country, and revealing the pure, unabated, unadulterated hell that Esau Edom has put on the Israelites over here in this United States of America that we call Babylon the Great. All right, and this is just what we do know. Okay, what we do know. I believe this was, this is going to be the 115th installment, and we've barely scratched the surface of what this devil has done. All right, barely scratched the surface, but nevertheless, it's enough to see that the Bible is exactly who He says He is. All right, and likewise, so are we, the Lord's people. All right. Well, yeah, this scripture is talking about his violence against Jacob, the 12 tribes of Israel. It says shame shall cover them. That's why they trying to get rid of the information that's coming out, trying to suppress it, censor it, okay? Because it's cutting them. It's cutting Esau to the heart, okay? There's nothing he can do about it. This truth is going to come out, point blank period, as the Lord said it would. Truth is going to spring forth out of the earth, and righteousness shall look down upon heaven. I believe that's Psalms 85 and 11. Let me just verify that to make sure. Book of Psalms 85 and 11. Con says, truth shall spring out of the earth, and righteousness shall look down from heaven. And that's what's going on right now. This devil is being revealed, 24/7, 365 around the clock, of all of the shit that he's done to Jake, and has never been held accountable for it. Okay, and he will, and we starting to see those curses are starting to lift off of Jake. Just saw a video the other day. Jake is getting really, really tired of this dude. You just saw what this guy Hinton did over the weekend. Uh, Cops took out his 18-year-old son. They put the narrative out there that was contradictory to the information on the body cam. All right, so he went out and took out one of theirs. You know, and Esau feels, well, he had nothing to do with the situation. Well, if you listen to all these videos that we have been doing, okay, you allegedly got the alleged perpetrator of the infraction, okay? Before he can go to trial, it's the same pattern. You overtook the jail and did your own justice, okay? So if that was the case, if you had the guy, that should have been it. But no, you continued and destroyed the whole community of Jakes, wiping them out, taking their land, taking their goods. You continued to do that even after you had the guy, and it was a lie from the beginning. You know, you use that to justify all of your wickedness. Yet, and you say today, but just because he didn't have anything to do with it, he should have just got the guy who did it. They're gonna hide that guy. Okay, they're gonna hide him. They're gonna protect him. But now when it happens to one of yours, you got an issue with it. All right, you took out the entire community for an alleged action, which through the articles themselves proved they were lies. Through the alleged action of one person, you destroyed a whole community. So no, he took one of yours out. That's just the way it is. All right, I'm not condoning that, but the thing is, you're not exempt from that. You know, if you had your man in all of these different videos that we did, there was no reason you should have continued and destroyed the rest of the community and stole all of their belongings. But nevertheless, let me get back to that Obadiah 1 and 10. All right. It says, shame shall cover you. Like I said, you being exposed, and thou shalt be cut off forever. All right. This is scripture. Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, you are going extinct, for everything that you've done to the children of Israel. All right. Let me get this. I've not read this in the NLT before. I'm going to grab that. This is Obadiah 1 and 10, NLT. It's titled Reasons for Edom's Punishment. All right. It says, because of the violence you did to your close relatives in Israel. And who was his close relatives in Israel? Actually, Israel, whose name was formerly Jacob, his twin brother. Okay, Jacob and Esau. Okay, it says you will be filled with shame, and we're seeing that right now. Okay, they cannot take their own history, refuse to believe it. That's why, once again, why they're trying to oppress it, and censor it. Okay, it says and destroyed forever. Destroyed forever. Let's get that word forever. I mean, we know what it means. Let's just get what it, get it by definition. Forever. A limitless time, at all times, continually. Okay? Now, a seemingly interminable time, excessively long. Adjective, not temporary or changing, permanent. All right? So that's pretty much straightforward. You're going to be gone for a long, never to return. All right? Never to return. All right? So let's get to this article. All right, and this article is again from EJI, A History of Racial Injustice, and I will put a link to this article in the description box. And it's titled, White Mob in Florida Lynches Black Man for Requesting a Drink of Water. All right, it says Florida mob hangs Negro, first shot him and then dragged the body through the streets. All right, it says on May 11th, 1926, a white mob tortured and lynched a young black man named Henry Patterson in LaBelle, Florida, for attempting to ask for a drink of water. So he never even got to do it. He attempted to. It says Mr. Patterson had been working on a road construction project in LaBelle when he stopped at a nearby house to ask for a drink of water. A white woman who lived in the house saw Mr. Patterson walking towards the house and, frightened by the sight of a black man approaching, ran screaming into the street. Mr. Patterson fled the area, but neighbors quickly assumed that the woman had been assaulted and began forming a search party to chase Mr. Patterson down. A mob of about 200 people, which included several local officials and prominent citizens, chased Mr. Patterson through the town, shooting him several times and wounding him. Man, all right. So yeah, they just went off of a whim. This is Sirach or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 11 and verse 7. And it reads, "Blame not before thou hast examined the truth. Understand first and then rebuke." That did not happen in this case. All right. Just the fact that, a so-called white woman was frightened by a black man, that was enough for them to do what they did. All right. And then it wasn't just a couple, it was a mob of them. Okay. A whole bunch of them that got together and committed this crime. All right. And killed this man. This is Exodus chapter 23. Again, in verse 1. It says, "Thou shalt not raise a false report. Put not thine hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness." All right. And that's exactly what they did here. Okay. They did not examine the whole truth first. They just assumed that he did something and went and destroyed this Jake. All right. He says, verse 2, "Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil, neither shalt thou speak in a cause to decline after many to rest judgment." All right. And that he was guilty just because he was a Jake. All right. All those people were in one consent, as you'll see later on in the article. All right. So, yeah, that's both the men and the women. All right. What else here? So yeah, that being the case of them being the men and the women, this is Psalms. Because they're gonna have to pay for this. All right. You touch the apple of the Lord's eye. Psalms 109. Seem to be bringing this out a lot because it's going to be dealing with all of them. All right. It says Psalms start at verse 12. He says, "Let there be none to extend mercy unto him, neither let there be any to favor his fatherless children." All right. So yeah, nobody's gonna come to your salvation, Esau, because of everything that you've done to this date. James 2:13 pretty much says the same thing. Mercy is gonna. Let me just grab that. James 2:13. And it reads, "For he shall have judgment without mercy, that hath showed no mercy, and mercy rejoices against judgment." So we know, according to Amos 1:11, you cast off all pity. You had no mercy for Jake, and neither is the Lord going to have mercy for you. Even in even the scholars knew this. In the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, said Edom is the only nation not promised mercy. Not promised mercy. All right. This is back in Psalms 109. All right, verse 13. It says, "Let his posterity be cut off, and the generation following, let their name be blotted out." All right, like the opening scripture said, you're going to be cut off forever, never to exist again. All right, verse 14. And that posterity means from a progenitor to all future generations of that progenitor. And this is talking about Esau, Edom. All right. It says, "Let the iniquity of his fathers be remembered with Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and let not the sin of his mother be blotted out." All right. And what's that sin? Rather than hearing what the man had to say, she ran out screaming. And there's plenty of stories that we've covered where that so-called white woman, has gotten Jake killed just for a look, just for saying something. All right, and 9 times out of 10, nothing inappropriate. Okay, could be higher than that, but just the fact, you know, that he engaged her, that was enough to take his life. All right, verse 15. Let them be before Yahweh Bashem Yahushai continually, that he may cut off the memory of them from the earth. There it is again, telling Esau, Edom, he's going extinct, to never be remembered again. All right. Says, because that he hath remembered not to show mercy, but persecuted the poor needy man, that he might even slay the broken in heart. All right. And yeah, of course, you can only imagine. This Henry Patterson only wanted a cup of water. All right. And he was killed for that. He was killed for that. Let that sink in. How perpetual that hatred is for Jake. All right. And like I said, he has no mercy. I quoted this earlier, but I'm going to go ahead and get it. This is the book of Amos, chapter 1, verse 11. It says, Thus saith Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4, that's sin upon sin upon sin, he says, I will not turn away the punishment thereof. So the Lord's recompense against you, Edom, is inevitable. It is going to happen. All right. He says, because he did pursue his brother with the sword and did cast off all pity, no mercy. All right. No mercy. And his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever. And that's even to this day. But things are quickly changing here, and very rapidly. All right. So you're gonna have to pay for that. For real. Let's see, just want to make sure I finished up that Psalms. Yeah, that was it. That was all I needed in that Psalms. Okay, so back to the article. It says, for their own amusement, the mob briefly allowed Mr. Patterson to outrun them. Mr. Patterson desperately searched for a place to hide, but as he attempted to jump a wire fence, the mob shot at him again and hit him. Mr. Patterson continued to bleed out as the mob placed him on a running board and paraded him down LaBelle's main streets. He was still alive as members of the mob kicked him, stomped on his face, and cut off pieces of his flesh to wave at onlookers. Man, yeah, Esau, you got a lot of shit to pay for. This is the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2. Let's see. Beginning in verse 10. All right. It says, let us oppress the poor righteous man. Okay, who's the poor righteous man? That's the Israelites, Jake. Okay, let us, the us is Esau, Edom. It says, let us not spare the widow, nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the age. Just no respect for Jake at all, at any level. All right. It says, let our strength be the law of justice, for that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth. And that's exactly what they did in those large numbers, and armed. Jake didn't stand a chance. Being unarmed, it was all over a cup of water. But they don't care. And it's evident that, Judah is getting that way too. I mean, we're just tired of it. Right now, you got those current situations. And on a side note, with that old Carmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf thing, we know the system. If they really had something on that kid who, unalived, uh, Austin Metcalf, if they really had something on him, he's a Jake too. They would have been threw him under the jail. Nevertheless, reducing his bond amount. You know, but yeah, that's what they do. The sword is theirs. According to the Lord, Psalm 17:13. He is the sword of the Lord. Okay, and he does not bear it in vain. You know, his mo is to kill, steal, and destroy. Just like the scriptures say. All right. So yeah, that's what they did. Let's get back to the article. Um, it says, as the mob approached LaBelle's courthouse, they hanged Mr. Patterson's mutilated body from a nearby tree. All right. So after they shot him up, cut off his flesh, beat him up, uh, they still hung him. All right. It says, though a local judge identified 17 white men he had seen in the mob, including a tax assessor, a town marshal, a school board member, a mail carrier, and the son of a county commissioner, a grand jury later failed to indict a single person involved in Mr. Patterson's killing. We talk about it all the time. You know, this is Psalms 73:5. Says, for they are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. And we see in this country, Esau is not held to the same standard of his own laws. Okay? None whatsoever. You know, they're not in trouble as other men. That's why the Lord's going to save them for last. You know? Like that was that scene in Commando. Arnold Schwarzenegger ran up on Sal, you know, and he said, Matrix, I thought you said you'd have killed me last. And Arnold said, I lied. So, yeah, but in this case, yeah, the Lord is reserving you until the day of destruction. And it's going to be fucking epic. All right? Because he's going to do that by the hand of his people, according to Ezekiel 25. All right? Let me grab that. Ezekiel 25. Then in verse 12. And it reads, thus saith Yahweh our power, because that Edom hath dealt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance and have greatly offended and revenged himself upon them. All right. He revenged himself because of that birthright. Okay. Verse 13, it says, therefore, thus saith Yahweh our power, I will also stretch out mine hand upon Edom, and I will cut off man and beast from it, and I will make it desolate from Teman, and they of Dedan shall fall by the sword. All right, so he's not playing. All right, verse 14, and I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people, Israel, and they shall do in Edom according to mine anger and according to my fury, and they shall know my vengeance, saith Yahweh our power. So yeah, there it is right there. We're going to have that spiritual power, and we're going to run amok amongst you Edomites. The ones that are still part of it, that will be part of that society in that day when you pulled up as slaves. All right. So yeah. Yeah, but we're gonna run amok on you in righteousness. Okay, none of that stupid stuff like the whole buck break-in, carving out a hole in the ground to lay a pregnant woman in it and beat her. No, no, we're gonna rule you in righteousness, but it's gonna be tough. More so because, like the scriptures say, you know, you cannot learn righteousness. according to Isaiah 26:10. So if we're going to be, our actions are going to be totally opposite of yours, and you won't be able to deal with it, because you are Esau Edom, that vessel created and fitted for fitted for destruction. Okay, that vessel of dishonor. Okay, according to Romans 9. All right. So yeah, by the hand of his people, he's going to do that. You all are going to be eliminated from the face of the earth, in due season. Back to the article. It says, Mr. Patterson is one of more than 6,500 victims of racial terror lynching that EGI has documented between 1865 and 1950. Read EJI's report, Lynching in America, to learn more. All right, and this is a memorial to Patterson. Uh, let's see, Mr. Patterson is honored at the National Memorial for Peace and Justice in Montgomery, Alabama. And who knows, the way Trump is going to remove people now, that may come down. Okay, but that's an interesting fact. This says this is documented more than 6,500 victims of racial terror lynching that EJI has documented between 1865 and 1950. It says read EJI's report. I'll look at that sometime. But just think that when you look at that time period, that from 1865 to 1950 is 85 years. Okay, so when you do the math, 6,500 divided by 85, that's roughly approximately 77 lynchings per year over that 85-year period. 77. There's a bunch of them. All right, a whole bunch of them. But this is what they do. However, like the scriptures say, they will be repaid for what they did to us. This is the book of Colossians. Let's start there first. Three and 25. All right. And it reads, but he that doeth wrong shall receive for the wrong which he have done, and there's no respect of persons. All right. So yeah, no respect of person. You're gonna have to pay for that, what you did. And that with no respect of person, you got these Edomites today. Well, those are my forefathers, those are my ancestors. I had nothing to do with it. According to the scripture, the Lord ain't feeling that. All right. This is the book of Isaiah, just to prove that. Isaiah chapter 24. All right. Slack it. Isaiah 14 and verse 21. And it reads, prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquities of their fathers. What did that say? Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquities of their fathers. You have to answer to what your forefathers did. Point blank, period. Because one thing's for sure, I bet that, don't, you just don't care. You think you should get away with that. Yeah. Prepare slaughter for his children. So yes, you have to pay for your father's iniquities. You benefited from it. Just like I said before, hey, y'all went out, you got your alleged culprit on the situation, all right? And that wasn't enough. You were not satisfied with the blood of just that one person. You wanted to kill off a whole community, and which is what you did in most cases. Then after that, stole their lands, okay? and the stuff that they had to leave behind. All right. Since verse 22 says, "For I will rise up against them, saith Yahweh Bashem Yahushai of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name," that's Edom, that's gone, "and the remnant, and son, and nephew, saith Yahweh Bashem Yahushai." So that's the elimination of your entire seed line, that posterity as the scriptures speak of in Psalms 109, you know. It's over for you, Esau. All right, and those curses are starting to lift from us to you. Well, just like the scriptures say. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, and verse 7. He says, verse 7, "And Yahweh thy power will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee." And who persecuted us the most? Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. He furthered the affliction, according to Zechariah 1 and 5. All right, you furthered our demise, even at the time when we started to come out. So you trying to get worse now, and we see that with this Trump, aka Nero, in office is doing. We see it very clearly. All right, so I'm gonna close out with this one. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 13, beginning at verse 9, and it reads, it says, "If any man have an ear, let him hear. If any man have understanding, let him understand." All right. It says, "He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and faith of the saints." Okay. Who led us into captivity? Esau, Edom. You go back to the old ancient empires, you got the Egyptian, the Syrian, the Babylonian, the Medo-Persian, the Greeks, and the Romans. Okay, we know plenty of videos proving that the so-called white man it was the Romans in that time. Okay, and also the Greeks. That's why you have Greco-Roman style stuff. They were the same people, point blank, period. All right. It was you who led us into captivity, going all the way back to the Renaissance period. All right. All right. It says, "And he that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword." Who was blessed with the sword? Esau, Edom. All right. And he is the sword of the Lord. Let me show you that it was his blessing, which is the sword. This is a book of Genesis 27. I want to say around verse 41. Yeah, verse 40. I'm going to start at 38. "And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and from the dew of heaven from above." And here's the point. Verse 40. "And by thy sword shalt thou live, and thou shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou hast had the dominion, that thou shalt break his arms and yoke from off thy neck." All right. So you were blessed with that sword, Esau, Edom. All right. And you don't bear it in vain. All right. Let's just prove. This is Psalm 17 and 13. And it reads, "Arise, O Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword." Okay? The wicked is the Lord's sword right now. He's that whooping stick for us, breaking the law, statutes, and commandments, and having us to, uh, the point where we are today. But the elect know what to do, to stave off those attacks of Esau, Edom. What is it? Proverbs 16:7 says, "When a man's ways pleases the Lord, even his enemies will be at peace with him." Roughly paraphrasing. So yeah, we're gonna be all right. We're gonna be all right. But this is just one of those things to identify definitely that the Bible, the devil that the Bible speaks of, is you, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, and you can see it, just in this article. All right. So yeah, let me get back to that Revelation. Thirteen, 10. All right. So we know it was you who led us into captivity. We know it's you who was killed with the sword. And then it says, "Here is the patience and the faith of the saints." Okay. The patience and the faith of the saints. You know, that patience, been kind of long suffering, no heed or nothing. All right. So yeah. And it said, this is the faith of who are the saints. It's the Israelites. Let's get that. I'll show you in two places. So those saints ain't talking about people like Mother Teresa or any of those who were knighted in the sainthood. This is let's see, which one did I call for? Revelation 13. All the saints. Psalms 147, 148. Slakia. Okay. He says he also exalted the people of his horn. Slakia. He also exalted the horn of his people. That's the power of his people. Okay. Those horns represent power. The praise of all his saints, even of the children of Israel, uphold near unto him. Okay? Praise ye Yahweh. Let me read that again. He also exalted the horn of his people, the praise of all his saints, even of the children of Israel, a people near unto him. Praise ye Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. All right? So yeah, you're going to have to pay for that. All right? So with that, and there's plenty more scriptures, Ezekiel 35, 5 and 6, Numbers 35 and 33, Joel chapter 3, verses 19 through 21, talking about our unabated, you know, um, judgment of Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, for what he's done to the nation of Israel. Okay, plenty more scriptures on that. But, for the purposes of this video, I didn't have to go through all of them. Just quoted them so you can look them up. All right. So with that, I hope this lesson was edifying to the elect body of the nation of Israel. Once again, I'm going to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rahakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well in teaching me this 100% truth. Salutations to them and my fellow Arkim who labor in this truth week in and week out on the highways and byways. Also, salutations to the hopeful elect of the scattered 12 tribes of Israel, scattered to the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, also known as Israelite foreigners. To you, I say Shalom, Kwam Yasharala, Abba Babal. We got next.